Talked about the financial options that the Minnesota Vikings have this offseason and how cuts, trades, restructures can get the Vikings in cap compliance. Will be relatively easy to do because and we glossed over Anthony Barr because it is going to be the most complicated situation this offseason. We really wanted to drill down on it. So Anthony Barr, the number 9 overall pick, 2014, coming out of UCLA, Mike Zimmer's first draft pick, 4-time Pro Bowler, team captain, force as the Viking strong side linebacker some of the time. Yeah, but fans hate him because he kept staying in 2016. How dare he? Tore his pec week 2 against the Colts, missed the rest of the season. Anthony Barr is due a $12.3 million base salary and a $15.5 million cap hit in year 3 of his 5-year, $67.5 million contract signed in the 2019 offseason. When he changed his mind last second, I don't want to be a Jet. Fueling the dumbest rivalry in all of sports history. He is slated to be the second highest paid off-ball linebacker in the NFL behind Bobby Wagner next year, which is now. Now, the Vikings can cut Anthony Barr and free up $7.7 million in cap space, carry $7.8 million dead on the 2021 cap, or designate him as a post-June 1st cut and then take $2.6 million dead, which would be the proration of his signing bonus over the next 3 years. But caveat is that $7.5 million of Anthony Barr's $12.3 million 2021 base salary becomes fully guaranteed on the third day of the new league year. First day of the new league year, this offseason is going to be March 17th, so March 19th is the deadline. So the Vikings have just over 6 weeks to decide what the hell to do with Anthony Barr. So we're going to go over all the options and the financial ramifications on the Viking salary cap. Number 1, trade. Even though I don't see a market, I just don't. And the ownership and the front office that wanted Anthony Barr in New York, I mean, they're gone. Yes, Woody Johnson is still there technically, but Mike McCagnon, who was GM at the time, he ain't there anymore. Joe Douglas probably doesn't want Anthony Barr, definitely not at that salary. He is going to be 29 next season, coming off of injury, plus was pretty meh in 2019, and also an exceedingly high cost, so probably not. And if a team did have a passing interest, you're not going to get a ton, and they'll probably even try to leverage you to take up some of his salary. And at that point, what is the point? There is none, right? So the Vikings, theoretically, if they did trade him, would similar to cutting him, would save $7.7 million against the cap. That dead cap hit of $7.8 million would accelerate and hit the books this season. Or designate him a post June 1st trade, and then you could spread out that 2.6 per year for the next 3 years, just like you would in cutting him. Next up would be cutting him. Again, they'd have to do this before the third day of the new league year, before that $7.5 million guaranteed part of his 2021 base salary becomes due. So taking this out of a vacuum, it would make sense. He is getting a little bit longer in the tooth. He certainly hasn't performed well over the last 2 years, plus is coming off an injury. But, I mean, cutting Barr and the perception of doing him dirty could potentially disturb the locker room, where Anthony Barr is loved and respected in that locker room, especially on defense. Could affect Kendricks. Of course, they go way back to UCLA. Could affect Harrison Smith and Danielle Hunter, and they're wanting to sign extensions with the team. All of them are very tight with Anthony Barr. So even though the business is the business, that does have to be factored in. But even though fans are sort of whatever on Barr, you really can't deny that the defense was straight up booty and was gutted after 55 went out. His stoutness against the run, him wearing the green dot, getting the defense lined up properly. So, I mean, that does all factor in. Next, pay cut. So I think that this is the most likely scenario with Barr and the Vikings this offseason, where they go to Barr's agent and be like, hey, he's not worth $12.3 million base salary this year. He's not. Also, the free agent market is going to be pretty bearish with the cap reduction. Teams aren't just going to be spending money like in a normal offseason. Plus, Anthony Barr, his role as strong side linebacker in the Zimmer defense, it really is unique. So he can't really find a spot one-to-one right away unless the team wants to turn him into an edge rusher, which he's going to be 29. I don't know if he can re-tap into the edge talent that he had at UCLA. I think he sort of, the die is cast at this point. And you don't see a ton of 6'5", 260-pound strong side linebackers. You just don't, right? But if you cut that down to $7.5 million, the amount guaranteed on March 19th, then we could talk. And also, also put in some incentives, ability to claw back some cash, or ability to tear up the rest of the contract. He become a free agent next offseason, similar to what they did with Everson in 2019. I think that potentially could be appealing, and frankly, could be the best that he could get, because if Anthony Barr is straight up cut, let's say, do you perceive him getting more than $7.5 million per year given this free agent market? Might be a little bit hard pressed, and also then he'd have to go to a different locker room, no OTAs, get integrated into a brand new defense. Nah. Lastly, so restructure, I think this is the least viable option and probably the least likely of the four. $12.3 million base salary would need to be adjusted, but if you convert that into a roster bonus, that just compounds the amount of dead cap on the books over the next 3 years. So say you took $9 million off his base salary and turned to a roster bonus, you would free up $6 million, yes, but then you'd have to carry $6 more million dead on the books for the future years. So I don't necessarily see that happening, especially with a guy who potentially won't be with the team past 2021. As we said in the previous video, you only restructure guys that you see potentially being with the team for the duration of the contract. Otherwise, you're paying dead cap on a player who's not on the team. That's a really poor decision. So I don't really see a restructure, especially when you have better restructure candidates like Thielen, like Hendricks, etc. So that's options with Anthony Barr. Again, I think the most likely outcome is a pay cut, and then they swap that out, the pay cut difference, with some incentive similar to what they did with Riley Reef this last offseason. But we'll see. I think that Anthony Barr is still likely a favorite to remain a Viking in some capacity. I think that Zimmer and Spielman do have loyalty to him. I think that they will prefer to go with him as opposed to Eric Wilson potentially, but we'll see what happens. They got 6 weeks. Yeah, it's going to be coming up fast. But your thoughts, Anthony Barr, what's going to happen to him this offseason? Let us know in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support that work? Pull us on the Venmo. But until next time, Skol, production value.